I don't like the double regulations. Like
Explain.
if you run a bakery, you have to send a certain number of cookies to the state. Yeah.
Okay.
So the state's Food and Drug Administration.
Oh, for them to be able to check your.
Okay. There's no rat poison in here. You're good. Okay.
Okay.
You got to do the same thing with federal. So you got to send your cookies to Washington or wherever the hell it is.
To ensure
to do the exact same
state
thing.
Pretty much send somebody to check. Okay.
So you're doing twice as much work to get one result.
So
it seems redundant. I would like to reduce redundancy.
Redundancy. Okay. So it's what upsets you is that we're doing the same thing, both federally and state level.
And these guys are getting paid. And it's like if you're a federal bureaucrat, you're getting like $100,000 a year,
which is what
to Trump, test cookies.
Which is what Trump was talking about with the attorneys and the consultants with what is it called? I'm sorry, let me look at my notes here. I hate to look at my notes, but I have to. When he was talking about, those are not the notes for the interview. Those are that's my jokes, my shitty jokes. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
The environmental people, kind of like something like that, where it's just an added layer of shit that we have to do.
Yeah, like for instance,
that's what you'd like to eliminate.
Like in California, there's a called desalination, and they have them on ships. But you take salt water and turn it into fresh water. Now, with California having trouble with water, you would think being next to the ocean, a desalination plant would solve their problems, right?
Just like Puerto Rico? Yeah.
Yeah. You would think so, right?
I'm going to need one of these.
But the EPA and OSHA and all this stuff says, hey, what about the fish? You're like, well, what about the fish?
So here's...
You can set this up so you're not... Because you don't want tuna in your drinking water. That's just so you're going to filter the fish out.
You don't want fish having sex in your drinking water.
Exactly. So, so they're... they act like they're just...
okay.
The EPA and all the other things act like that you're just going to... throw a big... start sucking salt water out of the ocean, and
so it's basically making
and things, since the seas are rising, we should be sucking the water out of it.
Basically making things less like you have to do this because if the state mirrors what the federal government is doing, then why do we have to do two things?
Exactly.
When we can just
it's just like
it's
just like federal minimum wage, which is bull.
Why is that?
Because Hawaii has a minimum wage. That they set for Hawaii.
Okay.
Nebraska has a minimum wage for Nebraska.
So you would want that to go to the states.
The state should control that.
States should control that. Okay.
Yeah, because if you're in Hawaii and you get $20 an hour, that's not a lot.
It doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. But if you're in Puerto Rico and you make $20 an hour, right? Or if you're in Missouri and you make $20 an hour,
totally different.
Okay.
And you get a different tax bracket because you're in a different state now.
Okay.
So imagine Hawaii's state income tax is different.
Probably, I wouldn't know.
Than Missouri. So I'm just saying it.
My question to you is, what are your thoughts? Okay, I'm gonna need to. Hold on. Let me pause right here and get something real quick because I forgot something. 1 second. All right. Sorry, I had to go get some notes and stuff like that. So we'll go this step by step because it's like a couple things that I've been wanting to touch up on you. Let me make sure that I have our audio pulled up so I don't have to. I can see it in the corner of my eye.
Okay.
So when we're talking about the state of Missouri, don't really care about anybody else. What are some things that you personally consider that we could do better? And I can give you examples. So I have notes on these examples before we get into the Trump.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on remember we had the governor guy that you brought?
Yeah. Yeah.
Chris, right? We had talked about property taxes and all that other stuff. What are your thoughts on the gambling thing on the ballot? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to say no on that personally because
why?
I remember when they said, "Hey, we're going to be the scratcher tickets. We're going to bring the lottery to Missouri, and the money will go to the schools." That's what they put out there.
Harrison Broad Street had that same argument, by the way. I talked to him about this.
No, listen.
And Harrison's a sports guy.
He's a sports guy.
He's a sports guy, which we should have him on again, by the way.
We should.
Harrison, if you're listening, stop being
Of course
a bitch.
he's listening.
Okay? Of course he's fucking listening. Come back to the podcast, asshole. We can do it in your bus if you want.
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, I don't think the electricity will. I don't think his dad will let him.
That's
Anyways.
true.
The scratch,
So it'd go to the schools. Anyway, they passed the thing they put it up for a vote and it passed it, and then no money went to the schools, and they said, hey, you said the money was going to the schools, and they said, no, we said we would like the money to go to the schools.
So your problem with this specifically with the
and now they say it goes to schools.
Okay.
But the problem is let's say you have $10,000 budget.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you get 5,000 from the lottery and you get 5,000 from the state. You don't get 15. You still get the 10. You always got 10. And just now you getting it from two different places.
Ooh, 1 second.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Okay.
That was on me. Go ahead.
Well, so now you're getting the same amount of money.
So let me understand this because we'll go in circles here.
Okay.
Your problem with the betting thing is that they say the money's going to go to one thing, but they don't give the money.
Because most of the stuff, believe it or not, like they say, we need to raise taxes a half cent to go to the 911 fund. Well, guess what? There is no 911 fund. Okay. There's a general.
So your problem is the bullshit that they say, okay, what if, right?
Now, if they say we'd like this to go, it's like, well, why won't it go to 911?
Okay, so that's your issue. Okay, so my question is, what if we can mitigate that? What if that money ends up going to the schools and to the roads? And I mean, what would the money go to? Schools, roads, veterans, bar association, because you have to pay the mafia. You have to pay the bar association.
Yeah, but you'd also want to be a state that's debt free.
Okay.
How much more leverage would the state have
if we could get rid of the debt that we have?
Because now you're paying interest on money that you borrowed 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, but if your income quadruples or doubles, that loan isn't really doing anything.
Yeah, I can make more money. Doesn't mean I'm going to pay my bills.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay. What would you personally like to see? And by the way, I'll give my answer because I've had people ask me. I don't know. I don't feel good about the betting thing, but this is the.
It will probably pass, but I don't feel good about it.
Well, it's two answers, right?
Yeah.
Number one, gambling is a very problematic addiction. Just how drugs are, just how anything is, right? Gambling is one of those things that people can get really fucking far into it. And as long as people aren't taking loans, or as long as we if it was to happen, I would like to see some sort of regulation or some sort of rules where it's like, hey, we won't take your house as a bet. We won't take. It's small things like that worry me.
I'm just saying that you can't protect somebody from themselves.
100%, but we can mitigate the way that they can do things in the sense of, hey, we will not take your car as collateral, or we won't take your house title and stuff like that. Like, straight up cash.
Yeah.
Which then the problem with that is, right, is that presents itself for people to launder money and for people to do all of these things. But there's a way to mitigate that. You can just only accept virtual transactions, or pay with your card and stuff like that. Because then if something happens, then it's easy to track and it's easy to follow. That's a very simple way to do that. I understand that there's ways to get out of it. My problem with it is the addiction side of it. That's the problem. And the type of people that we could potentially attract with that. Those are my problems with that. Now, saying that, I also understand from the conversation we had with Chris, as you also understand, there is nothing else that we can do. Like, most of our money comes from taxes. Comes from property and personal taxes.
Well, the whole thing I was trying to get across to him, and I'm sure he picked up. He's a smart fellow. Was that whenever you lower taxes for the state, you increase your revenue.
How so?
Well, one, if you have more money, you would buy more luxury items.
People tend to spend money when they have money. Yes,
when they have money.
Correct.
The other thing is, if you're in Illinois,
ooh, yeah,
and you just got to drive over the bridge to get cheaper gas, cheaper food, cheaper
weed,
right? Cheaper cigarettes.
Yeah.
How many people are going to do that? How far would you drive? How far would it be worth it to drive to get that? So
then my question is, when we lower taxes too, right? We get to be more picky where that money goes to. What about WIC and Section 8 and all of those things? How would that get affected? Even though I'm sure you, as well as I know, and I'm willing to bet on this, it's gonna get affected no matter who becomes president next year.
No, it will get affected.
It's gonna get hit hard.
The only thing I've noticed is that if you're on assistance and you get a job, they take away your assistance.
But have you ever sat down and done the math of what they do? The way that it's done in a way that it basically makes you stay in there forever.
Exactly. There's no step.
It's wild.
There's no step.
Childcare, for example.
Like if you, let's say you get a job and they say, well, we're going to cut your assistance by 50% because you have a job.
Yeah, because you have
a job. But you're getting 50%. It's not taking it all away.
But what you make after that 50% is lost, you just make 30% more, for example.
I'm just saying that there has to be a way to step out of it instead of right now it's all or none, it seems like.
It's hard because I have a friend who was on it.
Yeah.
And she got a job. I don't want to mention her name because she's pretty doesn't want her name mentioned, but she has 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
Same husband, got divorced. She ended up with the 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Dude disappears. And she was on assistance for the longest time. And then after 5 years, she got a job that pays pretty well above of what you and I combined make, probably.
Yeah.
And the state was like, oh, well, we're going to cut all assistance. And then the state started sending people to her house, like CPS and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't have to tell you, like, that's the type of problems that I have with it.
There's a lot of issues with that. It seems like it's an all or none type thing, and I don't think it should be.
Okay. What about?
But I don't think you should be on it for 20 years either. If you set it up a step, so you can gradually get out of it, get off of it, wean yourself off of the free money.
But you would have to have not incentives. I believe that you would have to have programs that would help them get life skills. So then
that's true too.
That goes back to the schools and all this other shit.
Yeah, but you would also have to have a limit. It's
in what sense?
We're offering you all these programs so you can get off assistance, and you're on it for 10 years, and you didn't take advantage of any of it.
Yeah.
Why should we just keep helping you?
Okay. So then my problem with that, right? And this is, again, we're playing devil's advocate here. So please don't take this in a disrespectful way. But then what do we do if that person goes into crime? What do we do? How do we help that person if they go into crime? How do we help that person if they go into fucking drugs and shit like that? That's my concern.
My concern is if they're waiting 10 years, what makes you think they're not already doing it?
So it's a deeper problem at that point. Yeah. Okay.
You're getting free money, so now you can do whatever you want to all day long. Now you can either better yourself or you can start stealing cars, selling drugs, whatever.
Yeah.
It all depends on the individual, and you can't catch everybody or help everybody because everybody's different. It's individuals.
Do you think that you could ever see a program implemented in a state where they do kind of like what they do in Japan, where you have like a year where the government will give you some subsidies and stuff like that for you to have kids, or for mental health and stuff like that, or even like what they do in some European countries where, they have like mental health days and stuff like that, and they take that pretty seriously. Obviously, the population there versus here and taxes completely different.
Yeah,
I understand that.
No, I think we could incentives for, let's say, trade schools. Like, say the state, we know in 5 years or 10 years we're going to be low on electricians, certified electricians.
How would you be able to tell?
So you would. Well, you just whenever people fill in their income tax, you can know how old they are, how many kids they have.
And you can determine.
And you say, let's say they retire at 55 or 60.
Okay.
And they're 45. So you think, I got this long for this guy to be an electrician.
Okay.
And you look at the rest of them, how many more electricians do we have coming up? How many do we have?
Let's incentivize that.
So we know this is going to be a problem later.
So how would you incentivize that for people to go do that? Because let me tell you something. That's a hard fucking job. Electricity is a hard job. It's like, I don't fuck with electricity. I feel stupid around it. How would you incentivize that if you were the government? Tax breaks or?
Well, you could, like high school. You can go to college, or we can give you a
kind of like what I did in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, like a scholarship or trade school. So you can be an apprentice.
Okay.
During the summer.
Yeah.
And during the summer, you're like, I don't like being an electrician. Okay, how about HVAC? Air conditioning, heating.
Ooh, I see.
Maybe you could.
I see what you mean.
So during the summer you get apprenticeship, and if you're like, I rather work on automobiles all day, then boom. Okay. On the flip side, we might not need more auto mechanics. Chances are we will, because the cars are getting more and more sophisticated. It's getting computers and relays and all that other stuff they put in there. I used to work on my own car, and now I open the hood and it's like, where's the engine? Because it's all full of plastic. It's just a big old plastic thing in there.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you mean.